Hey, welcome to episode 2 of the FTC Student's Guide to Autodesk Inventor. Once again, I'm Nick from Hazmat Biohazards, and if you're following along, you already should have Autodesk Inventor installed in your computer. If you didn't do that, go ahead and check out the link in the description to the Inventor Education download page. Once there, you're going to need to follow the instructions in creating your account, download the installer.exe, and then run that to install Inventor for free on your system. Once again, I'm going to be using Autodesk Inventor Professional 2020 edition. If you have a version other than that, so maybe in the future you're using version 2021, things might look a little bit different depending on the updates. So let's get started with Inventor with the file management. If you open up Inventor, you're going to be greeted by this screen, which is sort of like a home screen for all of your CAD files. There's like a file browser here on the bottom half of the screen, so once you start opening models in CAD, you're going to be able to reopen them by hovering over them and clicking on the open button. In the upper right, you can see this is where we can set our active project. So to start, you're only going to have a default project. Now, it's way easier to organize your CAD before you start designing robots, so let's make sure we're all set up to start working. In the upper left here on the top toolbar, let's click on this Projects button, which brings up a more detailed menu. So what is a project? Basically, it's so that you can organize your files into like sort of like a folder, you can think of it, so you can keep your project files all separated. So depending on where you installed Inventor, there's a folder in your application files called projects. So there's a big Inventor folder, and you have a projects folder in your Inventor folder. And if you open that up, you're going to see a few things. The files that are directly in this folder are just the default projects, like a miscellaneous thing. So you can pull stuff from your default project if you want. Now, folders that are in the project folder, so it's a lot of folders, I know. So folder in the project folder. Those are all your actual individual specific projects that you make. So if I make a project like Rover Ruckus 2018-2019, now I have all my files for that robotics season in one folder. So that way I'm not mixing up this year's intake with last year's, any other parts, whatever. Everything that I need is going to be in this one folder. That's where you can find all your stuff. So it's nice and clean. To make a new project, you go back to Inventor in this fancy little menu you've opened up and press New. So we want all of our projects to be single-user projects. You can name the project whatever you want. For Robotics FTC, I like to name mine by season, so you can also name yours by your robot name or anything you want. You can also change the file directory to do whatever you want. So I'd recommend setting the folder for your new project to be inside of your Inventor project's master folder, like I just said. But you can make it anywhere. If you want it to be on your desktop, you can do that. But wherever you set it, just remember where you have it. And if you don't have it on your desktop, I'd recommend making a folder shortcut and putting it on your desktop. So that way you can access your project folder really easily whenever you want to put something new in there, you want to view your CAD files. You don't have to go searching through your file browser. You can just click on this little shortcut on your desktop and find all your stuff. So once you have a place for it, press Finish on the project menu here, and there you go. Just make sure that the project that you want to work with is activated by checking on this box next to it. It's not terribly hard, but maybe a little bit confusing and kind of boring. Luckily, you only have to do that once a year when you make a new project for your season. So let's go back to the home menu and start talking about how CAD parts are organized. Now in this upper left-hand corner, you can see that there are some new types of files that it lets us create. Parts and assemblies you're going to be working with all the time. Anyway, I'm going to open up this intake assembly that I made last season. So it's totally normal for it to take a few seconds or so to load up, especially for more complex assemblies. Obviously, this kind of thing is going to be dictated by your computer and your CPU and your hard drive. Get used to looking at these menus once it opens up, because this is where you're going to spend the bulk of your time in CAD, that is actually designing stuff. So there's a lot in here that we're going to be covering throughout this series, but let's just start with some navigation today. The big window here is where you can view your workspace. So your workspace is basically infinite in size and has this gray background. This window is actually just like any other window on your computer, and you can take it out of full screen and move it around like within Inventor, although I'd recommend just leaving it in full screen. Down at the bottom of this window, there are tabs with different windows that you have open, as well as a tab to go home. So if you click this, you go to the home menu. Let's open up another part just for kicks. Now you can see on bottom tabs that for every new part or assembly you open, there's a tab here. Just like tabs on your internet browser, like you have web pages, you can quickly switch between them by clicking on them, or close the ones that you don't want by clicking the little X. Let's familiarize ourselves with this main window a little bit. So here at the top, you got some basic tools, including the Save button, very, very important, and the Undo, Redo buttons. So just like Microsoft Word, you can press Control-S to save your document, Control-Z to undo your last action, or you can just hit the buttons up here. Below that, you have a wide array of tools for all sorts of different purposes. They're arranged in different tabs. We're going to be using a lot of these tools throughout this series. Over here on the left, there's a big sidebar with a big list of all the components that make up the assembly I'm viewing. So here you can see that I have this assembly called Intake plus AES, which is what this little thing is. And there's a ton of things that make up this assembly. You can see all of them have these yellow square icons, or almost all of them. If you go back to the home menu, we can see that it's the same icon here, and this is the part icon. So first concept thing we learned, which really isn't hard at all, is that parts make up assemblies. Pretty simple. If you click on one of these parts on the sidebar, you can find it in the assembly. It stands out in this blue color. So if you click on a part in the viewer, you can then scroll down your sidebar, and you can find it there too. So this will let you keep track of different parts. If you want to, change a property of one, you can find it in one of the other pretty easily. So if I go to my fancy assembly and right click on a part, you can see this big menu opens up with a ton of options. So if I click open, for example, that part is opened on its own in a new workspace tab. It looks a little different since Inventor has revealed the entire part, including a lot of things that I had set up to be invisible in the main assembly view. If I go back to my assembly and right click on the part again, this time if I hit edit, for example, you can see that now the part is isolated within the assembly. Everything is all transparency, and I can only select or work on the part that I chose to edit. Over here in the file sidebar, you can see that everything is grayed out except for the part that I chose to edit. So now the part is dropped down, and we can see it's actually forming this part. So we're going to hit this a lot more in depth in my part making episodes, but for now we can see that this part is made up of a lot of extrusions. So extrusions are a type of feature, which is a way of turning a 2D sketch into a 3D solid. Some parts are only made of one feature, some have several, like the one that we're looking at right here. So extrusions, revolutions, sweeps, lofts, these are all different types of features. Now again, you don't have to know anything about them right now, except that they are features and that features make up parts. And if we drop down some of these extrusions, we hit the last layer of the CAD hierarchy, sketches. Sketches aren't in 2D, right? So they're flat. They're turned into features, which then are 3D, and the combination of those features is what a part is. And when you put parts together, you make an assembly. So we have a hierarchy that goes from bottom up: sketch, feature, part, assembly. And we're going to master each step of that hierarchy in a separate episode of this series. One thing that we got to take care of in this video is getting you some CAD files to work with for your next episode. So if you think about it, most of the parts you probably use on your robot are parts you buy from places like GoBuilda, Robotics, or one of the other vendors, Now luckily for us CAD designers, these vendors will publish their CAD files, which we can then download and use in our own assemblies. Now one of the most frustrating or tedious things about working with CAD is like downloading all these files and like renaming them and sorting them within your project folder. It's all terrible. So let's take a look here at the GoBuilda site and say I want to download this piece of channel. Well, I can go to the website and I can find the part on this page and find the file download, and I download the step file. But once I actually get the file, I have to rename it because most CAD files are named after the product ID number, which in order to interpret, you'd have to look up on your own. And then I can put the file in my project folder and start working with it. That process sucks and ultimately leads to you being disorganized with your files, being named all sorts of things, and being saved to weird places by mistake. Now, internet, don't worry, okay, there's another way. Let me tell you about the 10650 FTC Public CAD Library, all right? So over the summer, I spent hours, so many hours, downloading, identifying, renaming, and organizing over 400 CAD files from 6 different FTC vendors, being Rev, Robotics, Tetrix, GoBuilda, IndyMark, and Vex. So there's a link in the description that you can hit up and find our CAD library, and in one download, you can have all of the parts that you're going to need for next season in one folder, which then you can put into your Inventor project folder and not have to go through anything else, downloading stuff for the rest of the season, probably. The library is going to be kept updated throughout the season with new parts when they come out, making it an even more powerful resource. Check out the link in the description for that. Download the entire library as a folder and put it in your Inventor project folder. So in the next episode, we can get working with these parts, all right? So that's your homework. That's your homework for this episode, is get this CAD library, put it in Inventor, your project folder, so that way we can work with it next episode. But we're going to do constraints and assemblies. So before I go today, I want to tell you a little bit about GrabCAD, which is where you'll be going to get the CAD library. GrabCAD is a free web service that lets you back up your entire CAD project in one click. So it's super great when working with multiple people when designing your robot, or if you want to work on more than one computer, or if you just don't want to lose all your hard work because your hard drive fails, The way it works is you basically make a cloud folder and link it to a project folder on your computer. So when you're done working for the day, you can update the cloud version of the folder with one click. And on the other end, update your local CAD parts and assemblies with your teammates' changes by pressing a download button. It's so easy to use once you get it set up, and is super valuable, especially when working with a team. To get started with it, go to grabcad.com and check it out. That's going to be in the description as well. I know that seeing all the buttons in CAD is pretty overwhelming when you're first starting out, and next episode we're going to be learning about what a few of them actually do. Remember, before that though, download the 10650 FTC Public CAD Library in the description below and put it in your project folder so that we can get to work next episode, where we're going to be making our first assembly. So with that, see you in the next episode.